Introduction, the mysteries and intensity of the film. There's something deeply disturbing about how much remains hidden in the world of cinema. And this film, Stanley Kubrick's classic, is no exception. Behind the tense atmosphere and iconic dialogue of Full Metal Jacket lies a creation story filled with extreme methods, unseen tragedies, and mysteries kept secret for decades. This wasn't just a film about the horrors of war. It was a true psychological test of endurance for everyone involved. From the mind games that push the actors to their limits to the little-known details hidden in plain sight, the real-life story behind the making of this film is just as intense as the one on screen. Today we're opening the vault of secrets from one of the most iconic war dramas ever made. We'll reveal 25 secrets, surprising facts, and shocking moments that most people never noticed. Get ready, because the real story of Full Metal Jacket is about to begin. 2. Actor transformation and violent scenes. Let's start with the most famous, yet still shocking, transformation in film history. Vincent D'Onofrio, who played Private Coop, made a commitment that had serious consequences. He gained a whopping 75 pounds to fit his character, breaking the world record for weight gain for the role. This physical sacrifice didn't go unnoticed. He could barely walk and had serious health problems that required knee surgery. The actor later admitted that this weight change changed him socially and psychologically. Kubrick was relentlessly demanding, and for this actor, the role became an almost literal act of self-destruction. But the physical changes were only the beginning. Kubrick's vision was so dark that even he decided to cut some scenes he deemed too grotesque and disgusting for the screen. For example, the original script described a scene where Marines played football, using a severed human head instead of a ball. It was a level of horror that Kubrick, known for his dark humor, found too extreme to leave in the film. Another cut point concerned the finale. It was originally planned that Animal Mother beheads a Vietnamese sniper. This was to be another bloody and unpleasant conclusion to their confrontation. Kubrick, trying to maintain a balance between horror and its psychological impact, decided that these scenes could distract the viewer from the film's real message. Therefore, what you see on screen is only a toned-down version of what Kubrick originally intended to show. These details only confirm that the intensity of Full Metal Jacket was not only the acting, but also the result of the director's complete dedication to creating the most authentic, albeit brutal, experience possible. 3. Psychological pressure on set. The atmosphere on set was as tense and hostile as the story they were telling. Stanley Kubrick deliberately cultivated an environment of psychological pressure to elicit the most authentic reactions. One of the most dramatic cases involved Matthew Modine, who played the Joker. His wife had fallen ill, and he was desperate to leave the set to be with her. Kubrick, sensing that this emotional tension could be exploited, subjected Modine to a full-scale psychological assault, refusing to let him go. The actor was driven to such despair that one day, during a heated argument, he pulled out a pocket knife and held it to his neck, threatening to kill himself if Kubrick did not let him go. Ironically, he was not even scheduled to shoot that day, but the director insisted on playing a psychological game. Eventually, Kubrick backed down, realizing he had gone too far. This was not an isolated incident. The director used real fear to create a sense of fear in the rookie actors playing the cadets. Kubrick kept them isolated from Lee Ermey, the actor who played Instructor Hartman. The method was simple but effective. When the actors finally met, Ermey, who was a real Marine Corps instructor, was given complete freedom to scream and spew a torrent of insults for up to 10 hours a day. He did not use a prepared script. His tirades were improvised, brutal, and personal. The actors were genuinely scared, and their reactions, shock, tears, embarrassment, were completely genuine. Kubrick captured these reactions, capturing the raw, unadulterated emotion that became the hallmark of the first half of the film. This illustrates the extent to which Kubrick was willing to go to blur the line between acting and reality. 4. Casting and scenography. This section is filled with Kubrick's amazing casting decisions and his unique approach to creating the world of Vietnam. In London, let's start with R. Lee Ermey, the actor who played the ruthless instructor Hartman. Ermey was originally hired only as a technical consultant to teach the actors how to act like real Marines. The role of the instructor was supposed to be played by another actor, but Ermey, convinced that only he could play the part, held an unauthorized audition. He had the crew throw oranges and tennis balls at him while he shouted improvised insults without breaking the rhythm. When Kubrick saw the recording, he was amazed and immediately fired the original actor, giving the role to a real Marine. This was a case of a military man literally capturing his role and creating an iconic movie hero. Next up is the Joker's helmet. It conceals one of the film's most powerful visual symbols. The helmet reads, "Born to kill." "Born this kill" is a typical militaristic slogan, but directly above it, under the inscription, is a peace symbol. It is a striking, dichotomous symbol, representing the Joker's internal conflict between his role as a soldier and his humanistic beliefs. Interestingly, during the final confrontation, when the Joker prepares for decisive action, he often tilts his head in such a way that the peace symbol disappears from the frame, leaving only the cruel inscription, "Born to kill," visible. This was a subtle but masterful technique by Kubrick to show how war consumes the human essence. And finally, the most surprising fact about the filming, Kubrick, known for his aerophobia, refused to fly to Vietnam. Instead, he rebuilt the destroyed city of Hue in East London. Filming took place on the abandoned Beckton Industrial Estate, gasworks. To simulate the tropical conditions, he imported tons of tropical plants, palms, and exotic trees, and used special concrete dyes to simulate the look of dirty Asian streets. What looked like an authentic war zone was actually just a few miles from central London. It is an incredible example of the control and cinematographic mastery that only Stanley Kubrick was capable of. Names, techniques, and hidden messages. As we continue to uncover the layers of Kubrick's genius, let's turn to what usually seems simple, but is actually deeply symbolic: the film's title, technical details, and hidden messages. The film was originally going to be called The Short Timers, based on the original story by Gustav Hesford. However, Kubrick decided to choose a different title, Full Metal Jacket. All Metal Jacket. This name comes from the technical term for a military cartridge where the bullet is completely covered by the jacket. It's a perfect metaphor for the film's theme: soldiers who go through rigorous training to become the jacket, a steely, emotionally impenetrable shell that hides the human soul inside. This choice of name is a direct reference to the dehumanization that occurs in the military. Kubrick's mastery was so perfect that even the simplest scenes required an inhuman number of takes. Consider the brief scene where Instructor Hartman discovers that Private Koopa has stolen a donut. The scene only lasts a few seconds, but for Kubrick, it was key to demonstrating the fragility of Koopa's psyche. The director was so obsessed with finding the perfect rhythm and facial expression that the donut scene was shot 37 times. This illustrates his legendary desire for perfection and the fact that no insignificant detail was overlooked. Finally, there is a hidden warning about misinformation in the film that is often ignored. In the scene where the Joker and his team are having a military briefing, there is a blatant inscription on the wall in the background: "We will defend to the death our right to be misinformed." We'll defend this the death our right this be misinformed. This sarcastic and prophetic caption sums up Kubrick's attitude towards the military apparatus and propaganda. It's a clear political commentary disguised as part of the military entourage, and it hints at how the army deliberately manipulates the information its soldiers receive. It's a brilliant, if dark, touch that underscores the film's philosophical depth. 6. Hidden documents and personal stories. This installment delves into aspects of the film's making that have almost been lost to history, including secret filming and personal notes that give us insight into Kubrick's chaos behind the scenes. Few people know that Stanley Kubrick's daughter, Vivian Kubrick, who also composed the film's haunting soundtrack under a pseudonym, filmed her own secret documentary about the production. She collected over 18 hours of behind-the-scenes footage, showing a raw, unfiltered look at Kubrick's work and the mental challenges his actors endured. The footage promised to be a unique window into the mind of one of the greatest directors, but unfortunately, the documentary was never officially released. Many speculate that Kubrick himself blocked its release, perhaps out of a desire to keep his methods secret. As such, these 18 hours remain one of the greatest lost pieces of film history. Fortunately, we have another, equally valuable source of information: Matthew Modine's diary. The actor who played the Joker decided to document his experiences on set in a detailed personal diary. Since Kubrick forbade taking photographs or keeping records, Modine secretly took notes about Ermey's daily tirades, Kubrick's demands, and how the actors coped with the constant psychological pressure. He later published the diary, giving fans an unfiltered, deeply personal, and sometimes painful look at what it was like to work with Stanley Kubrick. These notes are evidence of the untold stories and tensions that prevailed on set. Finally, a strange but revealing fact about Kubrick's ethics: during the filming of a scene where part of the set was to be blown up, the director stopped production for a whole day because he noticed that not all the rabbits had escaped from the area to be blown up. He insisted that the crew thoroughly clean the area and make sure that no animals were harmed. This strikingly demonstrates the contrast between his ruthless directing technique towards the actors and his unexpected, almost tender compassion for the animals. This adds another paradoxical layer to Stanley Kubrick's complex personality. 7. Deleted dialogue and production facts. Our final section dives into the small details that we know can completely change the perception of a film, as well as facts surrounding the production and casting. Let's start with a deleted line that could have changed the entire ending of Private Koopa. After Koopa shoots Hartman's instructor and is about to commit suicide, the original script included a brief line from Hartman: "I'm proud of you." That line was cut. Had it remained, it would have transformed the scene from a pure tragic breakdown to a final, twisted moment of acceptance. Hartman recognizes that Koopa has become the perfect, ruthless killing machine, fulfilling his purpose, albeit at the cost of his own sanity. Kubrick's decision to remove it heightened the sheer, senseless tragedy of Koopa's death. There's a hidden tribute on Joker's uniform. Take a closer look at his name tag, dog tag. It says, J.T. Davis. This is not a random name. It is the name of the first American soldier to die in the Vietnam War on the battlefield. Kubrick used this as a subtle but powerful way to honor the memory of the deceased, emphasizing that the Joker is not just a correspondent, but a full-fledged participant in the conflict, who is on the same trajectory of risk. And finally, a shocking fact about the scale of production. To create the illusion of Vietnam on Beckton Gas Works in London, Kubrick created sets so large and detailed that they were works of art. However, after filming a key scene where the set was to be destroyed by war, the massive $4 million set was destroyed and dismantled. Kubrick did not keep any of the elements. This demonstrates his no-compromise approach. Once a set had served its purpose for one scene, it no longer had any value. It was a financial and artistic decision that underscores his unique, perfectionist approach to filmmaking. 8. Conclusion. We've cut through the layers of mystery and untold stories that surround Full Metal Jacket and can now appreciate the film in its true, full context. Stanley Kubrick didn't just make a war movie, he conducted a psychological experiment, both on and off screen. From Vincent D'Onofrio's physical sacrifices and his record-breaking weight gain to Matthew Modine's manipulations, The director's goal was to blur the line between play and reality. He sought not just to recreate Vietnam in London, but to recreate a sense of real, immediate horror. Every detail we uncover, from the hidden peace symbol on the Joker's helmet, symbolizing his inner rift, to Modine's secret diary documenting the pain on set, underscores the intensity and perfection with which Kubrick worked. It was a job that required human sacrifice and enormous financial expense, such as the destruction of a multi-million-dollar set after its only use. Thus, Full Metal Jacket is not just a cinematic classic. It is a testament to the director's obsession, his drive for perfection, and his ability to extract emotional truth from his actors, even through the most brutal methods. The film remains a powerful commentary on what war does to the human psyche and the cost of turning a person into a Full Metal Jacket. It is a story that, even decades later, has lost none of its poignancy